If you are new here, thank you for stopping by. If you are returning, hey friend. So, if you don't know, I was a pedestrian hit by a motor vehicle in 2018. I'm grateful to be able to sit here before you today. Not only because I made it and I'm alive and I'm in good health for the most part, but also because this is something that I never saw myself doing. I did not know that that accident was going to cause such a huge change in my life, right? Um, for the first time, I started to think about what I was actually accomplishing, not accomplishing, the things that I wanted to do and not do, right? I was on that rat wheel. I was getting up in the morning, getting the kids ready for school, dropping them off, going to work, coming home, getting dinner ready, getting the kids to bed, taking their clothes out for the next day. And in between that, things varied from having to do house duties and wash clothes, having to go grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, etc. My life was on autopilot. When this accident happened, I did not know what to do with myself because for the first time since I was 16, I couldn't work. I wasn't supposed to be driving, but I was driving because there was no way. My kids were little at the time, and we had to get back and forth. And I had a vehicle, and it was sitting outside, and so I drove. It is what it is, right? But having to take time off of work was something that was foreign to me. I was not in a mind space to even want to do that, right? Because now that things have changed, like my arm ended up in a cast about 3 weeks after the accident because they told me that there was nothing wrong with my arm. But then once the swelling went down, they realized it was broken into places. And so, yeah, my arm was in a cast. And I am a righty. I was hitting my right side. So my right hand was the one that needed the surgery. And thankfully, when I was a teenager, I was taught to drive with my left hand and my right hand. A lot of people can drive with both hands or with their um, or whichever hand they're dominant in, right? Fortunately, I was taught to drive with my left hand. Um, and my knees, I don't know how many of you can do that, but it is a skill that I am grateful that I learned, and apparently I needed to learn it so that later on in life when this happened, I would be all right. But to get back to the point, ADHD moment. Um, I didn't understand how much of a wheel I was actually in until I could no longer perform, until I could no longer do the things that were just every day to me, right? I couldn't cook. I'm right-handed. I couldn't stir the pot with my left hand. I it was hard for me to, get the clothes out of the dryer, or out of the washing machine into the dryer, out of the dryer. I couldn't fold clothes. Like it was, you don't realize how much you do until you one arm short, right? Um, and so getting to a place where I really couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. And so it gave me the opportunity to really sit down and say, what do I want with my life? What have I done with my life? What is going on? And so I just took a moment and I realized that my life was nothing like I had envisioned it to be when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I wanted to be a lawyer. I got like a year into my associate's degree, um, and realized that I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. And then I was about a year and a half in when I ended up pregnant with my daughter, and I had her early. I went into labor at school. And while I was in the hospital for over 2 weeks because they were trying to prevent me from going into early labor, the school kicked me out, even though I was submitting my work. I was in a hospital bed. My homegirl was bringing me my work from classes because we were in the same classes, and she was bringing me my work every day after school, and she was returning it every day. Like, I was literally sitting up in a hospital bed trying not to give birth, doing work. And so when I got out of the hospital, finally, I found out that they had kicked me out because of my attendance. Right? You're the one who called the hospital, but you're kicking me out for attendance. That's a whole nother story. God don't like ugly though, because that school ended up getting caught up in a lawsuit, and a very, very big lawsuit. And so they are no longer operating, let's just say that. And so my life just took a complete turn at this, well, technically another turn. Um, I decided that I wanted to be in the hospitality industry. I always saw myself traveling. Um, and so realizing that I didn't want to be a lawyer and I didn't want to be stuck in one place, I wanted to be in the hospitality industry, which is something that I actually went to school for. And so how things were going to go in my mind was I was going to have my daughter and we were going to travel. Of course, you get caught in the job and the having all the bills and the apartment and the things, and so you end up tied. And when I had the chance to sit back and look at how different my life turned out, I was conflicted. I don't want to say I was disappointed, because I hadn't imagined being able to have kids, let alone have two. So I'm grateful. But I realized that my life turned into something that I didn't even recognize. And when you have the opportunity to sit back and reflect about not only what your life is, but what you want to be, right? I realized that I wanted something different for myself and for my children. And so I ended up going back to school. I went to school for photography. I became a professional photographer and opened a photography studio during COVID. And it was successful up until my grandfather died, and there were a lot of things going on. Um, and I kind of just shut down. I really did. I shut down mentally, emotionally. I was not myself. And um, I hit a very, very big bout of depression. And being someone who is very emotional when it comes to people that I love, it took me a while to bounce back. One thing I remember very clearly is my grandfather said to me, "Do not be sad for me. I have had a good life. You are doing great, and I am so proud of you." And that sat with me. That sat with me. It really did. And so I have had the opportunity to think about what I wanted. I could have gone back to work, but that's not what I want to do. I am officially unemployable because I don't want to be on somebody else's timeline, and I don't want to feed into someone else's business when I can just feed into my own, right? Um, I used to want to be a homeowner. I don't want to do that anymore. I would rather pay somebody else rent and then leave when I get ready than to have the ties. And that life is not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. I know that. What I'm saying is that sometimes we need to sit down and have that stillness in order to take an audit of our life, audit of what has been done up until now. What do we need moving forward? Because sometimes our wants are the things that are holding us down and in place, but what we need will always be the thing that makes us the happiest, because you you want all the things, you want all the material things, you want all of, but do you really need that? Do I need certain things, or do I want them, right? um I need for my children to know what this world is like, and not just what America is like. I need to be able to show them all the things that I was never able to see myself. I want them to have the culture of where they come from, and not just what they've been taught, what we've all been taught. And so investing in that is definitely something that I am doing now. I am taking my experiences and I am helping other people. I'm a coach. I work with women who come from different backgrounds. And doing that is something that I never saw myself doing. I never saw myself as a teacher, and I still don't now, right? But I do see myself as a guide, as someone who has had the lived experience and can help others navigate what they're experiencing as well. And I say all that to say that we live in these bodies and we have these experiences, and sometimes things can get so rough that we think that it's all for naught. But it is all for something. You just have to get to the other side. I never saw this happen for myself. I never saw this coming, honestly. And I am grateful for it all. And they have this saying that it's life is what happens when you are busy making plans. I made so many plans for my life, and life just had something else planned for me. Um, I had something else planned for me. And knowing that gives me a sense of peace and a whole lot of clarity as to why I went through what I went through. Because you can talk a good game, you can read as many books as you want, but that lived experience is unmatched. And when you know how to navigate certain circumstances, when you have come from the darkness, I have been homeless, I have lived in my car, I have had to be a single mom when I always thought that I would be married and traveling the world. Like I have been stuck in one place for 10 years where I wanted to move back in 2020, but then the world shut down. And it's like, if you don't believe in signs and synchronicities, I need you to pay more attention, because sometimes things happen because you need to move, because you need to make certain choices, because you're stagnant and you haven't done the thing that you know you need to do. I knew that I needed to stop smoking. I didn't. It was such a habit that I had been doing since I was 16 years old that it was like pulling teeth trying to get me to smoke. Trying to get me to stop smoking. I knew that I needed to stop drinking. When I ended up in the hospital twice in 48 hours, really twice in 24 hours, because it was one day I was in the hospital, they discharged me, and within 6 hours of being discharged, I ended up back in the hospital, and then that's when they found out I had alcohol poisoning. Why? Because I'm sitting up here drinking all these different types of drinks, just doing what we do, and they didn't sit well together, and it made me very, very sick. We do not pay attention to what we're doing. We do not pay attention to the effect that it has on us. And I'm not saying on the people around you. I'm saying on you. What I was doing to my body. It was literally like my body just was like, okay, enough. I'm going to make you so sick that you don't have a choice. And it worked. I stopped drinking. I was like, no, I'm all set. I don't like being curled in a ball on the floor in fetal position, just having like conversations with my toilet. Like it was horrible. It was horrible. When I stopped smoking, I originally stopped smoking a couple times during my life, but mainly because when I was pregnant, but then I went right back to it. Um, I had a partial tonsillectomy, had to quit smoking. As soon as they told me that I was healed, I went right back to it. How many different ways did I get the sign that I needed to stop smoking? More than I can count. But the point is that I finally did it. It didn't take me as much turmoil to stop smoking than it did to stop drinking, right? So I want to ask you, how many times have you had the fleeting thought, hey, I should stop doing this, and you just keep going? How many times have you said, I need to change this, and you don't? Our bodies are antennas. Um, you walk into a room and you can feel like, hey, something's not right here, or okay, everything's all good. You walk into the grocery store and it just feels chaotic. You ever walked past someone who was angry and immediately just been irritated for no reason? You ever get to your workplace and your coworker is just happy go lucky, and you're just all of a sudden you feel lighthearted and you got a pep in your step? Like, when we pick up the technical term is called energy transference, right? But when we pick up on how other people affect us, we understand just how much our bodies talk to us. You know that you don't feel good before you actually get sick. You know that you don't like a particular food or something, and you eat it anyway, and then you find out you're allergic, right? You indulge in a particular behavior knowing daggone well your conscience is like, you don't need to be doing this. We need to start paying attention. Now, I'm not saying that had my accident not happened, I wouldn't be on this trajectory. But I am saying that being knocked from one area into a middle of an intersection did have its uh it made its point. It made its point when it comes to wake up, wake up. You need to stop it, right? Sometimes it takes that complete out of the way, sideways nudge or impact for us to really just say, what am I doing with my life? If we paid more attention, it wouldn't take all of that. If we paid more attention, it would not take all of that. I say all of this because I went to, and I'm going to be real honest and vulnerable with you guys. And if that's not okay, message received, audit your time, peace out. If it's okay, sit with me for a second. Last year, matter of fact, no, the year before, 2024, I was in a lot of pain from the accident. I had been discharged from physical therapy several times, and for whatever reason, a couple months after physical therapy, my body would just start hurting and aching again. I ran into someone who talked to me about how the body can heal itself and how it's been scientifically proven and all of this stuff. We got into a very in-depth conversation. And I found out about Reiki. Reiki is energy healing. And I had tried everything else. I was on 9 different pain medications between pain and swelling, pain and inflammation. I was on 9 different medications. Okay. Now, if any of you take that many medications, you know what it does to your stomach. I was sick every day. Heartburn, indigestion, just sick every day because of the medication that I was taking. And it was like I was putting a Band-Aid, but the Band-Aid was getting so soaked that it was not literally, but just like figuratively speaking, I was covering the issue instead of dealing with what was underneath. And so I looked into Reiki. I found a Reiki practitioner that I felt okay with going to. And I went. That first time, I was able, when I left, it was so calming, first of all. I fell asleep on the table. And I was like, I think I did this wrong because I just fell asleep. And she explained to me that the effects are different for everybody, but falling asleep is a good sign. It means that my body was relaxed and it was more receptive to receive the energy that was being sent. And I said, okay. Do you know I got into that car when I left, and because I was hit, I had hip issues, hip and lower back pain. I was able to get in my car, reach and close the door without a drop of pain. And when I closed the door, I was like, wait a minute. And then I dismissed it because logically my mind was like, oh, you just took a nap. You're fine. That wasn't it. For weeks, I was fine. I didn't need to take a pill, not one. You know how fast I threw them pill bottles in the trash? And I know now that you can return them to the pharmacy and have them recycle them. I didn't know that then, so don't come for me, okay? I threw them things in the trash so fast. I did not have to take nothing for inflammation. I didn't have to take nothing for pain. I was walking. I was good. I was like, what is this? What just? And so I did my research and I was like, oh, okay. I can get with this. About a month and a half later, the pain started to come back. And I refused. I sat with that pain. I refused to take any medication because I wanted my body to know the difference between before Reiki and after Reiki. So I took no pain medication, no Tylenol, no ibuprofen, no Advil, nothing. No muscle relaxers, nothing. I sat in pain for about 2 weeks. Went to another Reiki session. I was like, in my brain, I'm gonna tell you, in my brain, I was like, I gotta debunk this. This is different. And as Americans, as humans, we say anything that's different, it can't be true, right? So even though I knew that scientifically it was a thing, it was like I had never heard of this before, so it was still foreign to me. I go back to that second Reiki session. It happens again. I fall asleep. I felt like I was walking on clouds when I left there. Again, I got in the car, no pain. Now, mind you, that day, the wind was blowing so hard outside that when I opened the door to leave, the door flew open. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I did not mean for that to happen. It had knocked over their plants that were outside, everything. So I eventually realized that the pain didn't come back. Months later, this is months later. Months later, I have not taken nothing for physical, like I haven't taken physical therapy. I had been to the doctors. They had asked me if I was okay. I told them, yeah. They were like, well, what are you doing? Because you seem in very good health. And I told them that I hadn't been taking my pills, that my digestion was better. I didn't have acid reflux. I didn't have anything going on. And they were like, well, whatever you're doing, keep up the good work. Now, in my head, I wanted to tell them what I was doing, that I had been to Reiki sessions and I just wanted to praise Reiki. But I understand how Western medicine is not too keen on homeopathic remedies, put it like that. That may not even be the right word, but that's the word I'm going to use today. And so, understanding how Reiki impacted my life, I decided that if if I was supposed to continue down that path, that I would, long story short. And I did. So here's the thing about the universe. Here's the thing about God. You talk to God and you think that nothing happens, right? You talk to the universe, you think that nothing happens. But in all actuality, right? If you are open and you're not biased to the answers, regardless of whether or not it's what you want to hear, you'll get the answers that you're asking for. I wanted to travel. On my 2024 vision board, I said I want to go on a trip in 2025. Because of course, I was planning for the next year. The end of 2024, I heard about a retreat. I was like, okay, I want to do this. I really want to do this. But I am not attached to the outcome. So if I can't do it, that's fine. But I would like to try. I didn't have the money. I didn't know who was going to keep my kids. I didn't know any of that. But I just believed that if it was meant for me, that it would happen. Guess what, y'all? It happened. So here I am for the first time on a plane to California because I ended up going on that retreat. I went to a place called Mount Shasta, California, and it was my first retreat, so I really didn't know what to expect. I realized that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, exactly when I was supposed to be there. I saw things that science cannot explain to me, anyway. I felt things that I had never felt before. I tuned in to myself while I was there, and I was able to self reflect on some of my decisions, on some of my feelings and my emotions that I hadn't been dealing with. I literally was able to unpack myself and repack myself while I was there. If you know what I'm talking about, put it down in the chat. Now, before I went on this retreat, I had stopped smoking. December 2024, I quit. I woke up one day and I said, I'm done with this. I had been trying to wean myself off from 2 packs a day down to, I want to say, I got myself down to like 10 a day. And then I would fluctuate between 7 and 10. And then I finally just was like, I can't do this anymore because weaning myself off was not working for me at all whatsoever. So one day I woke up and I said, I'm done. I wrote it on a piece of paper. I don't need this anymore. Took a half a pack of cigarettes. You know, Newport 100s is up here where I live at is 13. I think it was 13.50 a pack. A whole half a pack of cigarettes. Broke them in half. Put them back in the box. Wrote on the piece of paper, I don't want this anymore. I don't need this anymore. And I threw them away, and I have not touched a cigarette since. I haven't touched it. When I say that came in handy, not smoking, when you on a mountain I mean, we did a hike one of the last days that we were there. Now, mind you, we hiked the whole time we were there. We went on different excursions and visited different significant places, and I did not have a problem breathing at all. At all. And you know that if you're a smoker, you know that, going up flights of steps is a problem, let alone on a mile hike, right? So one of the last days that we were there, we went on a hike. And let me tell you, it was hilarious because, yes, I'm a big woman. And I did not think I was going to make it up, but I made it up that mountain, okay? And the hike was so long that it took us an hour, a little bit over an hour to get up to where we were going. I had to slow down when we got about, I want to say 45 minutes in. I slowed down. And I was so grateful that there were a couple people that they were like, nah, we ain't leaving you. We gonna make it up this mountain together. And I was so grateful for them. But I did not need my asthma pump once. As someone who is asthmatic, okay, I smoked. Yes, I did. Did I know it was bad for me? Yes, I did. Did I do it anyway? Yes, I did. As we tend to do. Just saying. I didn't need my asthma pump once. Not once throughout that whole entire trip, but let alone after an hour hike, I still didn't need my asthma pump. And I was so proud of myself. That type of accomplishment will do something for you internally. I was so proud of myself. And getting back down was so fun because I was walking. It was cold. Oh my God, that's a story for another day. But it was freezing because it had started snowing at the top of the mountain, and it was like, oh wait, it's time to go. And so we all as the group we left, and it was amazing. I will insert some of the images that I took while there, and it was so beautiful. And as I'm looking at the scenery, I'm just like, I know that the world has so much more to offer, because look at this. Look at the rolling mountains. Look at the clouds. Look at the architecture of this rock that we call Earth. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I didn't, you see it in the pictures, right? Like you see pictures all the time on the internet or in blogs and stuff, but like seeing it in person was breathtaking. And I was just like, I know that the world has more for me to see. And so I made a promise to myself that I would travel. I was like, I'm going to do it. And I'm not giving myself a timeline, because when we get tied to timelines and things don't happen in the time frame in which we expect them to or we want them to, we tend to get discouraged and disappointed. And so I'm not going to do that to myself. And so I promised myself on that mountain that I would travel and that I would take my kids to see the world, because the beauty that I saw up there on that mountain contradicted everything that I had seen and been through my entire life. It literally changed me. And I say all of this to just be proof to you that whatever vice you have, you can quit. Whatever habit you have, you can stop. It's mind over matter. You have to make the decision. You have to make the promise to yourself. And even when you waver, you have to continue. You have to keep going, because there is so much more out there waiting for you. There is so much more out there waiting for all of us. And it's waiting to be seen and enjoyed and reveled in. If you are someone who is saying in their head right now, what does this has to do with me? You are clearly here for a reason. At 40 minutes in, you're here, you're still here for a reason. What is it that you are trying to put down, stop, transition into? What are those things? Take an audit of your time. What are you listening to? What are you watching? Are you making a plan to be the best version of yourself? Are you going where you want to go? Are you doing the things that you know something inside of you is just like, I need to do this. I need to do this. Are you doing those things? And if not, definitely book a call with me and let's get you started. Because as someone who smoked for over 16 years, as someone who drank for well over 12 to 15, if I can do it, you can too. I got you. Let's be each other's support, because that's what we're here for. We are here to learn the lessons and then turn around and help the person behind us. And so I'm here for you. If you want to book a call, my link will be in my bio or down below. If you feel called, comment down below and let me know something that you are looking forward to being able to do and transition to and or stop change. And yeah, so I hope that this story has motivated you to push forward into the things that you definitely know that you need to stop and or need to go get out of. Um, and yeah, so that's that. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you again next time. Bye.